two people earn the same salary, same job, same hours, same paycheck. 5 years later, one is still stressed, living paycheck to paycheck. The other is calm, secure, and financially ahead. This is not luck. This is not talent. And it is not about how much money you make. It is about habits. Napoleon Hill taught that riches do not respond to wishes. They respond to definite habits of thought and action. Most people believe they are poor because they earn little. In truth, they earn little because they think, decide, and act the same way every day. Money does not change people. Money reveals people. In this message, you will discover 8 simple habits, not shortcuts, not risky schemes, but proven principles that quietly separate those who struggle financially from those who rise. These habits work even if you start with a small income. They work because they change who you become. And when you change who you are, your income has no choice but to follow. Stay with me until the end, because the final habit is the one that determines whether wealth stays temporary or becomes permanent. This is not about getting rich fast. This is about building a financial life and a mindset strong enough to hold abundance. Let's begin. 2 people can earn the same salary, work the same hours, live in the same city, yet 10 years later, one is still trapped in financial stress, while the other has multiplied their income, built assets, and lives with peace. This difference is not luck, it is not education, and it is not opportunity. It is identity expressed through habits. Napoleon Hill taught that money does not respond to need. Money responds to definiteness of purpose, discipline, and mental order. That is why income alone never determines wealth. Your habits decide where your income goes. Your habits decide whether money works for you or against you. Most people unknowingly follow a destructive pattern. They earn, they spend, they pay everyone else first, and they hope something will be left over. Nothing ever is. This is not because they are irresponsible. It is because they were never taught to think differently. Hill discovered that prosperous individuals operate from a different mental framework. They do not treat money as something to survive with. They treat money as something to direct. And direction always begins in the mind. The first habit that can radically change your income is not saving, investing, or budgeting. It is reorganizing how you think about money. If you think like a consumer, you will always consume your future. If you think like a builder, you will always create leverage. Most people are conditioned to think this way. I'll save what's left after expenses. But this mindset guarantees scarcity. Why? Because expenses expand to consume available income. This is a universal law known as lifestyle inflation. Napoleon Hill explained it differently. Without discipline, desire leaks. That is why wealthy thinkers reverse the order. They pay themselves first, not someday, not when income increases. First, this single habit rewires identity. When you save or invest before spending, you are sending a powerful instruction to your subconscious. My future matters more than my impulses. That instruction compounds. It builds self-respect. It builds control. It builds momentum. Even if the amount is small, the signal is massive. 5%, 3%, 1%. The amount is irrelevant at first. The habit is everything. Jesus captured this principle perfectly. He who is faithful in little will be faithful in much. If you cannot direct a small amount of money with discipline, a larger amount will only amplify chaos. Wealth does not begin with more money. It begins with more order. Napoleon Hill observed that disciplined thinkers naturally attract opportunities. Why? Because order creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence. Confidence attracts trust. And trust attracts income. The moment you decide to pay yourself first, you stop seeing money as something that controls you. You begin controlling it. That shift alone can change your financial trajectory, because from that moment on, every dollar you earn has a purpose, and purpose is magnetic. This habit also removes desperation. People who live paycheck to paycheck are forced into reactive decisions. They accept less. They tolerate more stress. They miss opportunities. But when you build even a small financial buffer, your thinking changes. You negotiate better. You choose more wisely. You act with patience instead of fear. And fear is the enemy of prosperity. Napoleon Hill taught that fear blocks the flow of wealth because it scatters thought and weakens decision-making. Order removes fear. This is why the first habit is internal before it is practical. You are not just saving money. You are becoming a different person. A person who directs resources, a person who values the future, a person who operates with intention, and once that identity forms, income growth becomes inevitable because money always flows toward discipline. In the next chapter, you'll learn how vision and mental imagery turn discipline into acceleration and why people who clearly see their future almost always reach it faster than those who don't. Most people don't fail financially because they lack opportunity. They fail because their goals are vague. Napoleon Hill was relentless about this point. Wealth responds to definiteness. If your destination is unclear, your actions will always be inconsistent. Saying I want more money is not a goal. It is a wish. The subconscious mind does not respond to wishes. It responds to clear instructions. This is why two people with the same income, the same job, and the same background end up in completely different financial realities. One has a vision, the other does not. Hill discovered that men like Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, and Thomas Edison did not merely hope for success. They saw it in advance. They could describe their future in detail before it ever existed in physical form. Your mind works the same way. When your goals are unclear, your mind drifts. When your goals are precise, your mind organizes resources, ideas, and decisions around them. This is not mysticism. It is psychology. The brain is a goal-seeking mechanism, but it cannot seek what it cannot define. This is why visualization matters not as fantasy, but as mental programming. You must know exactly what you are building toward. Ask yourself this honestly. How much money do I want to earn per month? By what date? From which sources? For what purpose? If you cannot answer these questions clearly, your mind has no direction to move in. Napoleon Hill called this a definite chief aim. Without it, effort scatters. With it, effort compounds. Now here is where most people make a critical mistake. They set goals without emotion. Numbers alone are not enough. Your vision must be emotionally charged. Why? Because emotion is the language of the subconscious mind. The subconscious does not respond to logic. It responds to feeling. This is why Olympic athletes visualize winning before they ever compete. They don't just see the finish line. They feel the medal. They hear the applause. They experience victory in advance. You must do the same with your finances. If you want financial freedom, don't just say the words. See the lifestyle. Feel the peace. Experience the relief of bills paid in advance. Feel the confidence of choice working because you want to. not because you must. Emotion turns intention into momentum. The Bible aligns perfectly with this principle. Where there is no vision, the people perish. A man without financial vision will always be ruled by circumstance. A man with vision begins to rule his decisions. Now let's make this practical. Your vision must include numbers, timelines, and meaning. For example, I earn $5,000 per month in consistent income by December 2026 through skill-based work and investments, so I can provide security for my family and freedom for my future. That is a command to the mind. Compare that to, I hope things get better. One mobilizes power. The other produces drift. Napoleon Hill taught that once a goal is clearly defined and emotionally accepted, the subconscious mind begins working day and night to achieve it. Ideas surface. Opportunities appear. Decisions become clearer. Not by magic, but by alignment. Your mind starts filtering reality differently. You notice opportunities you previously ignored. You make choices that support the vision instead of sabotaging it. This is why clarity precedes discipline. You cannot stay disciplined for a future you cannot see. So here is your action for this chapter. Take a piece of paper. Write down your top 3 financial goals. Each must include a specific amount, a deadline, a reason that matters deeply to you. Then read them every morning and every night. Not casually. With intention. Feel them as real. Napoleon Hill said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief requires clarity. In the next chapter, you'll learn how to eliminate decision fatigue and self-sabotage by building simple mental rules that protect your money automatically, even when willpower is low. Most people believe they lose money because they don't earn enough. In reality, they lose money because they decide too much. Every single day, you are forced to make dozens of small financial decisions. Should I buy this? Is this worth it? I deserve this? Right, I'll save next month. And here is the hidden truth. Decision-making drains willpower. By the end of the day, when your energy is low, discipline collapses, impulse takes over, and money leaks out quietly. Napoleon Hill taught that success is built through definiteness and habit, not constant effort. Wealthy people don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. This is why the third habit is so powerful. You must create automatic money rules that work even when you're tired, emotional, or distracted. These are not complicated strategies. They are simple rules that remove temptation entirely. When a rule exists, there is no debate. And when there is no debate, discipline becomes effortless. Let's make this practical. One powerful rule is the 48-hour rule. Any non-essential purchase above a certain amount, say $100 or $200, must wait 48 hours. Not because you're poor, but because impulse fades with time. Most desires are emotional, not logical. Give them time, and they dissolve. This single rule alone has saved people thousands over a few years. Another rule is the fixed spending rule. You decide in advance how much you will spend on categories like eating out, entertainment, or clothing. Once the limit is reached, spending stops. No guilt, no stress, no negotiation. The decision was already made when you were calm and rational. Napoleon Hill emphasized this idea repeatedly. Make decisions slowly and change them rarely. Poor financial habits come from repeated emotional decisions. Wealth comes from decisions made once and obeyed consistently. Another powerful rule is the replacement rule. You don't buy something new unless something old leaves. New clothes require donating old ones. A new subscription replaces an old one. A new gadget must outperform the current one significantly, or it's a no. This rule forces awareness. Awareness creates restraint. Restraint creates surplus. And surplus is the seed of wealth. Behavioral economists confirm this rules reduce cognitive load and increase consistency. But Napoleon Hill understood this long before science did. He knew that the mind must be protected from drift. Drift is the silent enemy of prosperity. Drift looks like, just this once, I'll fix it later, it's not a big deal, and drift destroys fortunes slowly. Rules interrupt drift. Another essential rule is the identity rule. You stop asking, can I afford this? And start asking, is this what a wealthy person would do? Wealth is not built by income alone. It is built by identity-based behavior. When you begin to see yourself as a future wealthy individual, your decisions naturally change. You stop spending to impress. You stop buying comfort. You start buying freedom. Napoleon Hill taught that you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. Rules help you become the person who naturally accumulates wealth. Now here is the key principle you must remember. Rules are not restrictions. They are liberation. They free you from constant self-control. They free you from regret. They free you from financial anxiety. Once these systems are in place, money stops slipping through your fingers. It starts obeying direction, and direction is the foundation of prosperity. In the next chapter, you'll discover why most truly wealthy people live modestly and how secret millionaire behavior builds freedom faster than visible luxury ever could. Here is a truth that shocks most people the first time they hear it. Most real millionaires do not look rich. They do not chase status. They do not live to impress. They do not spend money to prove anything. Napoleon Hill observed this pattern repeatedly while studying men of great wealth. Those who accumulated lasting fortunes were rarely flashy. They were deliberate, patient, and disciplined. This is what I mean by living like a millionaire in secret. There are two types of people in the world, those who look rich and those who are rich. The first group spends to create an image. The second group saves and invests to create freedom. And here is the uncomfortable reality. You cannot do both at the same time. Many people trap themselves by upgrading their lifestyle the moment their income rises. A slightly better salary turns into a more expensive apartment. A small raise turns into a new car payment. A bonus turns into unnecessary luxuries. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it quietly destroys wealth. Napoleon Hill taught that riches respond to discipline, not appearance. Money follows order, restraint, and long-term thinking. The truly wealthy understand something most people never learn. Money is a tool, not a trophy. Real wealth lives in bank accounts, investments, businesses, and assets, not in clothes, gadgets, or symbols of status. Thomas J. Stanley, author of The Millionaire Next Door, studied thousands of self-made millionaires. His conclusion was simple and shocking. Most millionaires drive modest cars, live in reasonable homes, and spend far less than they earn. Meanwhile, many people who appear wealthy are drowning in debt. They finance cars they cannot afford. They wear brands they cannot sustain. They live paycheck to paycheck while trying to impress people who don't matter. This is not prosperity. This is performance. Living like a millionaire in secret means choosing substance over image. It means asking a different question before spending. Does this purchase build my future, or does it only feed my ego? Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest men in history, still lives in the same modest house he bought decades ago. Not because he can't afford more, but because he understands something profound. Comfort does not require excess. Freedom does not require display. Napoleon Hill emphasized that self-control is one of the highest forms of power. The ability to delay gratification separates builders from spenders. Every dollar you don't spend unnecessarily becomes a worker for you. It can be invested. It can compound. It can multiply. Every dollar you spend to impress others dies the moment you spend it. This habit requires courage because society pressures you to upgrade constantly. Social media magnifies this pressure. But wealth is not built publicly. It is built quietly. When you live below your means, something powerful happens. Stress decreases. Options increase. Opportunity expands. You stop being desperate. You stop being trapped. You start making decisions from strength, not survival. Napoleon Hill taught that freedom is the true definition of riches. Freedom to choose. Freedom to walk away. Freedom to invest in opportunity when it appears. You cannot buy that freedom with appearances. You earn it with discipline. So make this decision now. Stop trying to look rich. Start becoming rich. Cut expenses that exist only for image. Keep your lifestyle simple. Invest the difference relentlessly. One day, people may be surprised by your success, but by then, it won't matter, because while others were spending to be seen, you were quietly building a life that no crisis can take away. In the next chapter, we'll move from spending habits to control, how mastering your cash flow gives you absolute clarity and power over your financial future. You cannot grow what you do not measure. This principle governs every successful business on earth. Yet most people completely ignore it when it comes to their own money. They work hard. They earn a salary, and at the end of the month, the money is gone. Not because they are irresponsible, but because they are unaware. Napoleon Hill taught that wealth is the result of organized planning, and planning begins with clarity. If you don't know exactly how much money comes in, how much goes out, and where it goes, you are operating blind. Imagine trying to run a company without financial statements, no income report, no expense tracking, no cash flow overview. That business would collapse quickly. Yet millions of people live their entire lives this way. They hope, they guess, they feel, but money does not respond to feelings. Money responds to structure. The moment you begin tracking your finances, something powerful happens. You move from emotion to control. This habit alone has transformed more financial lives than any get-rich-quick strategy ever could. Most people resist this step because they are afraid of what they'll see. They suspect there are leaks. They suspect waste, and they're right. But awareness is not punishment. It is liberation. When you see the numbers clearly, you regain authority. Napoleon Hill emphasized that fear disappears when facts replace uncertainty. Tracking your money removes financial fear because it replaces mystery with truth. This does not require complex spreadsheets or advanced tools. Simplicity is the key. You need only 3 questions answered every month. How much money came in? How much money went out? Where did it go? That's it. You can use a notebook, a simple spreadsheet, a free mobile app. The tool does not matter. Consistency does. Every expense gets written down. Every income source gets recorded. At first, this feels tedious, but very quickly, patterns emerge. You notice that small, frequent expenses are draining more than large. Obvious ones: coffee, food delivery, subscriptions you barely use, Impulse purchases justified as small. Individually, they feel harmless. Together, they sabotage wealth. Once you see these patterns, you gain the power to decide. And decision is the birthplace of change. This habit does not demand deprivation. It demands intentionality. You are no longer guessing where your money went. You are directing where it goes. Scripture reflects this principle clearly. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost? God does not condemn planning. He commands it. Tracking your money is an act of stewardship. It is you saying, I respect what has been entrusted to me. And here is the hidden benefit few people talk about. When you track your finances consistently, your spending naturally improves even before you consciously try to change it. Awareness alone alters behavior. You think twice before spending, not out of fear, but out of clarity. You begin asking better questions. Is this aligned with my goals? Does this move me closer to freedom? Would my future self thank me for this? This habit also prepares you for growth. When your income increases, you won't lose control. You will already have a system in place. Many people earn more money only to end up just as stressed. Why? Because they never learned to manage small amounts well. Napoleon Hill warned that wealth magnifies habits. If your habits are disorganized, more money amplifies chaos. If your habits are disciplined, more money accelerates prosperity. Tracking money is not about restriction. It is about mastery, and mastery is the foundation of wealth. In the next chapter, you'll learn why escaping high-interest debt is not just a financial move, but a psychological and spiritual breakthrough that clears the path for income growth and compounding wealth. You cannot build wealth while dragging chains. Bad debt is one of the most misunderstood and most destructive forces in personal finance. It doesn't just drain your money, it drains your options, your peace, and your future. Napoleon Hill taught that freedom is the foundation of prosperity, and debt with high interest is the opposite of freedom. Many people believe debt is normal. They grow up watching parents live with it. Society encourages it. Banks market it as convenience, but normal does not mean wise. There is a critical distinction you must understand. Not all debt is equal. There is productive debt used carefully to acquire assets or skills that increase income over time. And there is destructive debt used to consume things that lose value while charging you interest for the privilege. Credit card balances, high-interest personal loans, buy now, pay later traps, financing lifestyle upgrades you cannot yet afford. These are wealth killers. They create a silent tax on your future. Every month you carry high-interest debt. You are paying for yesterday's decisions with tomorrow's opportunities. This is why so many people feel stuck even when they earn more than before. Their income rises, but their obligations rise faster. Napoleon Hill warned that people who live without financial discipline eventually lose control of their destiny. Debt removes choice. It forces you to accept jobs you dislike. It keeps you dependent on the next paycheck. It makes risk impossible. And calculated risk is how income multiplies. Here's the hard truth. You cannot invest your way out of high-interest debt. If you are paying 15%, 20%, or even 30% annual interest on consumer debt, no investment will reliably outperform that. Trying to invest while carrying bad debt is like pouring water into a bucket with holes. So the strategy must be clear. Debt elimination is not optional. It is foundational. Start with visibility. List every debt you owe, not approximately precisely. Write down total balance, interest rate, minimum payment. Clarity creates control. Next, Prioritize by interest rate, not emotion. The debt with the highest interest is your enemy number one. That is where your financial energy must go first. Continue paying the minimum on all other debts and attack the highest interest balance aggressively with every extra dollar. When that debt is eliminated, redirect the full payment toward the next one. This creates momentum. Momentum restores hope. Each eliminated debt frees cash flow. Cash flow creates breathing room. Breathing room creates confidence. Napoleon Hill emphasized the power of momentum in achievement. Small wins build belief. Belief fuels persistence. This is not about punishment. It is about liberation. As debts disappear, something remarkable happens. Your stress decreases. Your decision-making improves. Your confidence grows because you are no longer reacting, you are directing. Once bad debt is gone, you must make a permanent internal decision. You will never again use debt to pretend you are wealthier than you are. True wealth is quiet. It does not announce itself with purchases. It reveals itself through stability, options, and long-term growth. Napoleon Hill taught that self-discipline is the price of success. Debt freedom is one of its greatest rewards. In the next chapter, you'll learn how to increase your income without falling into lifestyle inflation and how disciplined earners separate themselves permanently from financial struggle. Up to this point, you've learned how wealth begins in the mind, how habits shape outcomes, how discipline protects money, and how freedom requires the elimination of destructive debt. Now, we arrive at a truth many people resist, but every wealthy individual understands. There is a ceiling on how much you can save. There is no ceiling on how much value you can create. Napoleon Hill taught that money follows value, not effort. It does not respond to how hard you work, but to how useful you become. This is why two people can work the same hours in the same company, with the same job title, and yet one steadily multiplies their income while the other remains stuck. The difference is not luck. The difference is value expansion. Most people try to solve financial problems by tightening their budget forever. That creates survival, not prosperity. True financial acceleration begins when you ask a different question. How can I make myself more valuable to the marketplace? When your value increases, income follows naturally. This is a universal law. Napoleon Hill called this the law of increasing returns through specialized knowledge. The marketplace does not reward general effort. It rewards specific usefulness. So let's be precise. There are only 4 ethical and sustainable ways to increase income. Become more valuable where you are before changing jobs, changing cities, or chasing new opportunities. Most people ignore the opportunity right in front of them. If you are employed, ask yourself honestly, do I consistently deliver more than what is required? Do I solve problems? Or do I wait to be told what to do? Do I make my manager's job easier or harder? Income grows fastest where trust already exists. When you become someone who takes initiative, delivers results, solves problems independently, you gain negotiating power. Raises and promotions are rarely about fairness. They are about leverage. Value creates leverage. Develop skills that the market pays a premium for. Not all skills are valued equally. Hard truth. Time-based skills cap income. Skill-based leverage multiplies income. High-income skills usually fall into categories like sales and persuasion, communication and leadership, technical problem-solving, marketing, and audience-building systems. Automation or optimization. You do not need 10 new skills. You need one that is rare, useful, and scalable. Napoleon Hill emphasized specialization, not accumulation. A person who knows a little of everything competes on price. A person who masters one valuable skill sets the price. Create additional streams without abandoning stability. Wealth rarely comes from a single paycheck. Relying on one income source is financial vulnerability. This does not mean quitting your job impulsively. It means building income layers, using evenings, weekends, or unused skills. Turning knowledge into service. Side income can come from freelance services, consulting, teaching what you know, digital products, small scalable businesses. Napoleon Hill called this organized planning. You are not gambling. You are strategically expanding capacity. Protect new income from lifestyle inflation. This is where most people fail. When income increases, spending increases faster. This destroys momentum. Wealth is built in the gap between what you earn and what you live on. If income rises but lifestyle rises with it, nothing changes. The disciplined individual keeps lifestyle stable while income grows. The difference is invested. This is how income growth turns into wealth, not stress. Money is not multiplied by effort alone. It is multiplied by who you become. As your skills grow, your income grows. As your usefulness expands, opportunities multiply. As your discipline holds, wealth compounds. Napoleon Hill summarized this simply: riches come in response to definite demands. Based upon the application of definite principles, you are no longer chasing money. You are attracting it by increasing your value. In the final chapter, we'll uncover the habit that separates the top 1% from everyone else, the discipline that sustains wealth, multiplies wisdom, and ensures that prosperity lasts across decades, not moments. This is the habit that separates temporary success from lasting wealth, not luck, not talent, not connections, education. Napoleon Hill discovered that every truly wealthy individual he studied shared one defining trait: they never stopped learning. Not casually, not occasionally, but deliberately, consistently, and with purpose. Money follows knowledge. Your income is not limited by your effort alone. It is limited by what you know, what you understand, and how well you can apply it. This is why two people can work just as hard for just as many years and end up in completely different financial realities. One kept learning, the other stayed where they were. Hill taught that wealth begins in the mind, and the mind grows only through input. If your mind consumes entertainment all day, your results will reflect entertainment-level thinking. If your mind consumes knowledge, strategy, and wisdom, your results will rise to match that level. This is not philosophy. This is law. Every financial breakthrough you will ever experience will come from something you learned, someone you studied, or a principle you finally understood. Warren Buffett reads for hours every single day. Bill Gates reads dozens of books per year. Elon Musk taught himself rocket science by reading. These men were not born knowing more than you. They simply kept learning when others stopped. Most people end their education when school ends. The wealthy begin theirs. Education compounds faster than money. A single insight can change how you earn forever. A single skill can multiply your income for decades. A single principle can save you from years of costly mistakes. This is why ignorance is expensive. You either pay to learn, or you pay through mistakes. Napoleon Hill emphasized this clearly. Riches come to those who develop specialized knowledge and apply it with purpose. Notice, knowledge alone is not enough. It must be applied. Reading without action creates information overload. Action without learning creates exhaustion. Wealth requires both. This habit works in 3 layers. First, daily input. You must feed your mind every day. Even 30 minutes a day compounds powerfully over time. Books on finance, investing, psychology, business, personal mastery. Your future self is being built by what you consume today. Second, skill acquisition. High income follows high value skills. Sales, communication, leadership, investing literacy, digital skills, problem solving. The marketplace does not reward effort. It rewards value. The more problems you can solve, the more money flows toward you. Third, application. Knowledge unused is useless. Every new idea must be tested. Every insight must be applied. Wealthy thinkers ask one question constantly: how can I use this? Not someday, not later, now. This is where most people fail. They admire knowledge instead of using it. They collect information instead of transforming behavior. Napoleon Hill warned against this trap. He said, faith without action is powerless. Learning without application is the same. Continuous education does something deeper than money. It reshapes your identity. You stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like an owner. You stop reacting to money and start directing it. You stop fearing decisions and start understanding consequences. Confidence grows naturally when ignorance disappears. This is why education destroys fear. Fear feeds on the unknown. Knowledge replaces fear with clarity, and clarity creates decisiveness. Decisiveness creates results. This habit also protects you. In every economic shift, crisis, or change, educated minds adapt. Uneducated minds panic. The world is changing faster than ever. Those who stop learning will be left behind, not because they are lazy, but because they are outdated. You don't need to know everything. You need to know enough to stay ahead. Napoleon Hill believed that education is not preparation for life. It is life. And the man who commits to learning for life will never be poor for long. This 8th habit does not just triple your income. It multiplies every other habit. Because once your mind expands, your limits disappear. And when limits disappear, income has no choice but to follow. At this stage, most people believe they are already doing enough. They save a little, they cut some expenses, they may even earn a bit more. But this is where many journeys silently stall, because income alone never creates wealth. Only systems do. Napoleon Hill taught that riches come to those who think in terms of organization, not effort alone. Effort produces income. Organization produces multiplication. This chapter is about the shift that separates people who work for money from people who make money work for them. Up to now, money has likely been something you receive, then spend, then wait for again. That cycle keeps you dependent. Wealth begins the moment money is given a job beyond survival. Most people don't fail financially because they lack money. They fail because every dollar arrives without a purpose. Money without direction leaks away. Money with direction compounds. This is why assets matter. An asset is anything that puts money back into your life, whether you are actively working or not. This does not require being rich. It requires being intentional. Napoleon Hill observed that wealthy individuals made a clear distinction between consumption and construction. Consumption feels good now. Construction feels slow but changes everything. Here is the uncomfortable truth. If every extra dollar you earn is spent upgrading lifestyle, your income can double and your financial stress will remain the same. This is why many high-income earners are still trapped. They earn more, but own nothing that pays them back. The moment you decide that every increase in income must increase assets first, the trajectory of your life changes. Assets can take many forms: investments that grow over time, businesses that generate profit, skills that increase earning power, intellectual property, systems that scale your effort. At the beginning, it may be simple. It could mean investing consistently, even in small amounts. It could mean building a side business before upgrading comfort. It could mean reinvesting profits instead of rewarding yourself immediately. This requires discipline, but discipline is freedom delayed, not denied. Napoleon Hill emphasized definiteness of purpose. Assets are purpose made visible. They are the physical expression of long-term thinking. Another critical mindset shift here is delayed reward. The average person asks, "What can this money buy me today?" The wealthy thinker asks, "What can this money build for me forever?" This question alone rewires behavior. Delayed reward is not deprivation. It is strategy. It allows time to work for you instead of against you. Time is the most powerful financial force, but only when paired with patience. This is why compounding favors the disciplined, not the talented. Small, consistent actions beat dramatic but inconsistent ones. A modest investment sustained over years outperforms bursts of effort followed by neglect. This applies not only to money, but to skill building and relationships. Everything that compounds requires consistency. Napoleon Hill called this persistence guided by intelligence. Not blind repetition, but purposeful continuation. Another key principle is separation of money roles. One of the smartest habits you can build is this: never mix survival money with growth money. When money has no clear role, it gets misused. Growth money must be protected. It is not spending money. It is not emergency money. It is not lifestyle money. It is seed money. And seeds must be left alone long enough to grow. This is why emotionally driven spending is so dangerous. Emotion short-circuits systems. Wealth requires emotional neutrality with money. You don't chase feelings. You execute plans. Finally, understand this: you do not need to become wealthy overnight. You need to become aligned. Aligned thinking produces aligned action. Aligned action produces systems. Systems produce freedom. This chapter marks the transition from effort-based income to system-based wealth. In the final chapter, we will bring everything together and show how habits, mindset, faith, and discipline merge into a single identity, the identity of someone who was built to prosper. At this stage, something critical must be understood. Income does not permanently increase because of tactics. It increases because of identity. Most people try to change results without changing who they are being. They adopt a habit for a week. They feel motivated for a month. Then life applies pressure and they return to old patterns. Napoleon Hill taught that riches respond to definiteness of character, not temporary effort. This final chapter is where everything locks into place. Up to now, you've learned how to control spending, visualize outcomes, build mental rules, live below appearances, track cash flow, eliminate destructive debt, increase income streams, invest in constant education, but none of these work long-term unless they become automatic. And automatic behavior only comes from identity. Here is the truth most people never hear. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. And habits are expressions of identity. A man who identifies as disciplined does not need motivation to save. A woman who identifies as a builder does not waste money to impress. A person who identifies as prosperous does not sabotage opportunity. This is why Napoleon Hill emphasized autosuggestion, not affirmations as wishful thinking, but repetition that reshapes self-image. Your subconscious mind is always answering one question, who am I? And it organizes your behavior to match that answer. If you still see yourself as someone trying to get ahead, you will unconsciously tolerate delay, excuses, and inconsistency. But when you decide, I am the kind of person who manages money with discipline, clarity, and long-term vision, your actions realign naturally. This is where income multiplies not gradually, but structurally, because once identity changes, discipline no longer feels heavy. Learning becomes attractive. Delayed gratification feels normal. Opportunities are noticed faster. Confidence increases without effort. This is why two people can follow the two made of that day by same financial advice and get completely different results. One is forcing behavior. The other is expressing identity. Napoleon Hill observed this in every wealthy individual he studied. They didn't just do wealthy habits. They thought, decided, and reacted like wealthy individuals. They delayed pleasure instinctively. They invested before consuming. They viewed money as a tool, not a reward. And most importantly, they played the long game without resentment. That is the final habit, long-term patience without bitterness. Most people quit because they expect fast proof. They want visible results before identity has time to solidify. But wealth compounds quietly before it compounds loudly, just like fitness, just like skill, just like leadership. For months, progress looks small. Then suddenly, it looks inevitable. This is why Hill taught persistence under the guidance of intelligence, not blind hustle, not emotional effort, consistent application of principles over time. So here is the final integration. You are no longer trying to increase income. You are becoming the kind of person whose income must increase, because value follows identity. The market does not reward need. It rewards discipline, clarity, usefulness, and consistency. And once those traits become who you are, income has no choice but to follow. This is not optimism. This is law. You now understand the structure behind wealth. What remains is execution, quiet, consistent, and patient. And if you stay faithful to these habits, you will look back one day and realize your salary didn't triple because of luck. It tripled because you became someone it could no longer stay small around. That is the real transformation. And that is how ordinary people build extraordinary income. At this point, you understand something most people never do. Income is not controlled by luck. It is not decided by the economy. And it is not limited by where you started. Income follows identity, habits, and discipline. Napoleon Hill spent decades proving one truth: people do not rise because of opportunity. They rise because they become the kind of person opportunity responds to. These 8 habits are not tricks. They are not shortcuts. They are laws. Laws work whether you believe in them or not, but they only reward those who apply them. You now face the most important moment of this entire video. Not what you know, but what you choose to do next. Because information without action changes nothing. Faith without discipline stays theory. Vision without habit stays fantasy. God has already given you the mind. He has already given you the ability. He has already given you the time. What he will not do is choose for you. So here is your challenge. Not tomorrow, not next month. Today, choose 3 of the 8 habits you just learned Write them down. Commit to practicing them for the next 30 days. No excuses. Do not try to change everything at once. Change your direction. Small daily actions, repeated with discipline, create massive financial momentum. 1 year from now, you will not be in the same place. The only question is, will you be ahead or still explaining why you're not? If this message spoke to you, if it felt like confirmation rather than motivation, then don't keep it private. Like this video so more people can find it. Subscribe to the channel so you continue building the right mindset daily. And in the comments, write this declaration: I choose prosperity. Not as a wish, as a decision, because the moment you decide, your habits begin to change, your thinking begins to align, and your income eventually follows. This is not the end of your financial story. This is the chapter where discipline replaces struggle and intention replaces survival. Stay consistent. Stay humble. Stay disciplined. Prosperity rewards those who are ready to manage it, and now you are becoming one of them.